Alright, so look, Mario Kart Double Dash is the best Mario Kart game hands down. Yeah, I said it.
Big whoop, wanna fight about it?
But no, this game came out in 2003, making it kinda old as f. And if you remember it like I do,
fuck, you're old.
With that being said, we desperately need a sequel to this masterpiece, because it's genuinely amazing, and hell, even the title screen gets me excited to play it. But before we look into what can make a great sequel, let's look into the beauty of Double Dash and what set it apart. Let's get into it. So obviously the fact that you could have two people on your cart was like 95% of the whole gimmick here. You know, you had one who would drive and one who would be in the back seat throwing items. And like, that's almost everything that set it apart from these games. And I feel like that's the beauty of it. If you played any of the past games up to this point, you didn't need to learn anything new, you know, not really. But the novelty of it was just genuinely so fun. You know, like the ability to just pick two characters for the fuck of it, it's what made this game great. And like, while you could min-max this game in terms of stats, it wasn't necessarily necessary. I feel like it embodied peak Nintendo. Cause you know, historically, other gaming companies fought for like the top spot. They competed in things like graphics or mind-blowing mechanics, you know, as opposed to Nintendo, who usually finds itself in like the proverbial cut corner. And honestly, I'll be the first to say it, as much as I love this game, Double Dash had no real reason to actually have the dual rider mechanic, but it's just genuinely fun. But no, going back to the min-max argument, this game could be min-max if you really wanted to, but I feel like with this game, in comparison to things like Mario Kart 8, it was pretty avoidable. Mario Kart 8 had like stats for damn near everything. You had stats for your character, your cart, your glider, your tires. And at this point, you might as well throw in your fucking balls and how much it affected drift rate. Ain't that right, Luigi?
That's a penis!
And yeah, in Double Dash, you had stats like weight, acceleration, and speed, but it wasn't nearly as complex, and let's be real, no one's fucking min-maxing Double Dash. No, you just picked two characters and a car you thought was cool, and you were good to fucking go. That was it. And I feel like that's the nature of a good Mario Kart game. You give someone who has not played Mario Kart in a long time Mario Kart 8, you know, they're gonna look at you crazy. I f***ing did.
Can't do it, I can't take this shit.
Cause it's like, why does everything have stats? At this point, it's just choosing the best stats. You know, it's not about having fun picking up at a party and just playing. You know, it becomes this like weird numbers game.
The numbers, basically.
That's not Mario Kart to me. Now, the only kind of like real strategy with this game was choosing a character based on what kind of item you could get. What I mean by that is, in this game, depending on which character you chose, you could get a specialized item. Now, f me slow with the blue shell if I'm wrong, but I think Double Dash was like the only Mario Kart game where you could do something like this. I feel like in every other Mario Kart game, any driver could get the same items as you, regardless of who you chose as a character. In Double Dash, who you played as actually mattered, and that was all the meta you really needed. So for example, you had Baby Mario and Baby Luigi's item that was a chain chomp essentially. You could bite other people, and it acted as like a speed boost as well. You had Toad's mushroom speed boost that you could spam. You had DK's BYB.
That's a penis!
This encouraged players to like think a little about which characters they chose, and in these games, that's kind of all the thinking you need aside from like driving. You feel me? Like I said, Mario Kart games are party games first and foremost, and a good Mario Kart game lends itself to that. Am I calling Mario Kart 8 bad? Yes. Am I saying Mario Kart World's probably going to be bad too? Yes. But anyway, it's also worth mentioning that you could pick two different characters to get both of their specialized items. So for example, you could have Mario's fireballs and you could have Donkey Kong's BYB, which just caused the chaos in this game to go even further. And again, that's as complex as Mario Kart really needs to get, in my opinion. But yeah, man, Double Dash had the right amount of strategy without turning into some weird numbers game that the newer games became. And I'll be real, y'all might get pissed off at me, but min-maxing casual games is kind of lame to me, not gonna lie. I know everybody mentioning a summoning salt video ever is gonna come for me now. But anyway, maybe a controversial take. I feel like Double Dash has the best tracks in the game, hands down. Listen, if you disagree, tell me in the comments and we can debate about it. Look, you had tracks like DK Mountain, that little cannon thing, that was peak level design. You had Daisy Cruiser, you know, you had the little tables that would move underground and the little shortcut that you can go in that would lead to like a cannon. Wait, do I have a thing for cannons?
Do I have autism?
I think all these came back from Mario Kart 8 actually, and that should tell you something. These are great tracks. They deserve to be highlighted and praised for what they are really. However, with that being said, I'm not gonna lie, it was cool having it in Mario Kart 8, but like, the water sections to some of these maps, it's just like,
Oh, no.
but nah, man, there's only so much I can say about Double Dash and what makes it just a truly great Mario Kart game. One of the best ones in my opinion. But now that we touched on that, let's talk about what this video is really for. What a Double Dash sequel could look like. Really quick, I want to thank you guys for subscribing and watching my videos lately. My goal right now is 1K and we're really close. So if you're liking the video so far, consider subscribing, like the video, comment if you can. Yeah man, back to the video. So right off the bat, I think most people are expecting me to say to overhaul the graphics, and while that's what I'm asking for, it's probably not in the way that you'd expect. See, I don't want this game to look like Mario Kart 8. While 8 looks amazing in its own right, a Double Dash 2 I feel like shouldn't be as vibrant. Now hear me out. See, the colors of Double Dash were more pastel-like, you know, and maybe it was just limitation of like the hardware, but it was charming. And in a way, and maybe this is my nostalgia talking, but I felt like this game looked like a storybook, you know, in the way the colors are presented. And I feel like for a sequel, we should keep it that way. And obviously graphically, you know, we smooth out some of the textures, but we don't have to make it look the same as Mario Kart 8. But I feel like we need to try and capture some of the magic from 2003.
Please!
As far as characters go, you know, one thing that really annoys me about the rosters for these games lately has just been, it feels like the majority of these characters are just padding. Most of these characters don't need to be here. And I don't know if this is a leaked roster or something from Mario Kart World, but again, half these people don't need to be here. So my idea, I feel like, and hear me out, we could take Smash Ultimate's roster and put them in a Double Dash 2. Not only would this give us more characters to play as, but it would make things meaningful. Because, on that same token, we could also keep the character specific items for these characters. For example, imagine Captain Falcon being in the game and he's got like an item to Falcon Punch the nearest cart. Or imagine like an item from Little Mac, aka the best person in Smash, an item where he jumps on the back of someone's cart, snatches off the rider, and like starts beating the f out of the driver for like 3 seconds. But hell, I don't know, I'm a spitballing here. Give me some cool ideas for like character specific items in the comments, because I'd love to read them. Also, real quick, taking a page from like the actual best racing game, Crash Team Racing, we can maybe have like retro skins for all the characters, you know, like giving us examples of all the past like renders for these characters. But nah, going back, the name of the game there is just pure and utter chaos. Like I can't imagine having all the characters from Smash in a Double Dash 2. Because you pick 2 characters there. That could be amazing for the choice of items that you have there. So for the tracks, you know, using the same technique as like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate like I just did, let's bring back all the tracks from the first game with some additions. You know, I think it's obvious by now, but I don't want the tracks here to have like water or flying sections. It's a cool feature, sure, but that's not Double Dash. I want pure racing mechanics. And like when I played 8 for the first time, I remember overall liking the addition. Part of me felt sad that that's what Mario Kart became. And I'm not a level designer, so the only thing I have to really say about tracks is like I feel the frequency in which item boxes appear should be a bit more frequent. You feel me? That way we can engage as a player who's not driving just a bit more. As all the second players know, sometimes in Double Dash you weren't doing anything significant for like a good amount of time, you know, being on the back seat. So let's make it to where you could almost always have like an item in your hand. This again can make the game feel even more chaotic. But speaking of me not being a level designer, I feel like we can take some inspiration from Now you guys know what Super Mario Maker is because it's right there in the title. In that game, it gave you assets from pretty much all the mainline Mario games and lets you put together either really simple or incredibly elaborate courses, making for some really unique experiences. And hell, my only real experience with this game is watching Dashi play it, and some of the tracks that he would like have to play were insane.
But that landing though, that landing. Oh! Oh!
But no, letting us make our own tracks could up the replay value immensely. You know, and obviously we could share them online because this game doesn't need an online section. There's already like no shot in hell that we're getting this game Double Dash 2, but there's even less of a chance that we get a Double Dash 3. So I feel like right here, making this game have really good replay value is very important, and I feel like that could contribute to this. But nah man, we just want to keep these players coming on back.
What do you mean by that?
Alright, so like I said, we need to make playing in the backseat a lot more engaging. There's a joke there there, but I'm way too mature to make it. As fun as I think riding in the back seat is, I can imagine gamers of today wouldn't really think so. So here's my ideas for that. So it's actually a mechanic in Double Dash where if you hit either of the triggers as a backseat driver, you could like punch another player, and honestly this is just hilarious. Like imagine getting chopped the up by Baby Mario. So obviously we gotta bring that back. However, this would also pull the cart to the side, like whichever side you were punching on. So let's change it to where even if we do punch, the cart's still stable, you know, so as not to throw off the driver. And yeah, maybe that was just a way to like counterbalance a person like spamming the out of the punch button, but I just want pure chaos in this game. So I feel like unlimited punching could be great for that. Alright, so next, I feel like this may be a bit controversial, but I feel like for online play, right? Because guys, this game absolutely needs an online mode. We can give the backseat player and only the backseat player the ability to speak in like a proximity chat sort of way. Like imagine rolling up on somebody and it's just like, "What up, bitch?" Now I know Nintendo will probably never in a million years implement that feature solely because it's Nintendo, but like I feel like when people remake their games, like their older games, or like make a sequel to their older games, they kind of have to realize that these fans, we're either 30 or pushing it. But hey, what do I know? Lastly, I feel like maybe this is just my Fortnite brain activating, but I feel like it'd be really cool to give us like emotes. It wouldn't do anything advantageous and there wouldn't be any music associated with it, but it could be something to do during like your downtime, you feel me? You telling me you don't want to hit the Dougie on the ops while you're about to hit him with the red shell? But anyway, we can't really have a good Mario Kart game without a versus mode. Now God forbid if you were like the younger sibling playing these games, because I know when it came to the versus mode, your ass was getting creamed. Huh? The versus mode was a great little addition and served as like a fun side dish to like the strictly racing portions of this game. You had like Bomb Blast, you had Shine Thief, you had Balloon Pop, you know, all of which were like amazing, and I have fond memories of playing all of these modes. So my goal with this section is to suggest some like game modes that could be just as memorable. So I feel like a Splatoon mode could be like amazing. You know, I ain't never played a Splatoon in my life because I've touched boobs, but from what I understand, you have to cover like an area with as much paint as possible with one color, you know, while the other team does the same, and whoever gets the most area covered wins. I feel like this could be a really fun mode and maybe get Splatoon fans to come over to the game and give it a try. Secondly, this isn't really a versus mode per se, but I feel like a mini game where you have to work with another player to drive could be like really fun. You know, meaning instead of like one player driving, you both have to communicate on which way to drive, making the controlling of the car much harder. You know, think that one game from Mario Party. I feel like we should just kind of hit a lot of Nintendo's best games and implement them into a Double Dash 2. And lastly, I feel like a mode that randomly switches the driver could be like really fun, you know, making the game even more chaotic, like I keep saying, you feel me? So like imagine a mode where like you get no indication of like the drivers being switched, so you get like really into playing one role, but then the game randomly switches you to like the other role, you know? I feel like that would really keep players engaged, and honestly that'd probably be one of my favorite modes, not gonna lie. Like I said, just chaos. We need chaos in this game. With that being said, remember this mother.
Show me your moves.
Well, this mother has a game. And if you're now 45, you didn't know that. So I haven't played F-Zero, you know, prior to doing some research for this video, but long story short, I really love this game. Historically, I hate racing games, you know, aside from Double Dash and like Crash Team Racing. Honorable mention, Split Second. This game is great. Go check that shit out because I feel like no one talked about this game. But no, F-Zero gets a spot now for how fun it really is. As you can see, F-Zero is like a game that plays fast as fuck.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
And I'm almost certain this game has given me some kind of ADHD, because look at this. But with that being said, I think adding a game mode that makes the game similar to F-Zero could be amazing. Now in Mario Kart 8, they have a track called Big Blue, which is sort of a homage to F-Zero in a way. So I feel like it wouldn't be that out of the question to implement that kind of style into Double Dash 2. Like imagine going Mod 5 with items. You feel me? Like with those specialized items. Chaos incarnate, dude. Oh my god. And hell, if you want to take again from the Melee games, give us like an option to turn off those items. you know, and turn it into like a true F-Zero like experience. But now, man, apparently Miyamoto said they didn't make a new F-Zero game because they didn't know what else to add, and like, that's a poor excuse in my opinion. I get it, I get what you're trying to say, Miyamoto, but I feel like that's not, you have so many people who can give you some ideas, you just didn't want to, but whatever. But my solution to that is to merge your most two popular racing games, and maybe not give us like a full F-Zero remake, but incorporate elements to where if a person played and was good at F-Zero, they could pick up this game no problem, which could also again play into like trying to get as many people to play this game, you know, and appreciate this series for what it is. Alright, so wrapping up with a lightning round, you know how we doing on this channel. First off, I feel like a story mode could go absolutely insane. I don't know what the it'd be, but it could be great. You know, we could take from Crash Team Racing and their whole hub world thing. I know Mario Kart World is gearing up to do some kind of hub world thing, but fuck that game, I'm not paying 80 bucks for that. I feel like a no kart mode could be really cool, you know, throwing back to those days of like big head mode on like Tony Hawk games. I feel like a no kart mode could be the equivalent. That could be really fun. Also, stealing from games like Street Fighter, and I think Crash Team Racing, like the remake, had a similar feature. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but there was like an option to do like OG controls versus like modern controls. So I feel like we can make those OG controls play obviously just like Double Dash, you know, and the modern controls play something similar to Mario Kart 8, but not like exactly, you know, just like I want there to be some kind of healthy middle ground and give us those options to do OG controls and modern. Lastly, I feel like what would be great is to make this GameCube controller compatible. Now, obviously, this game would probably be coming, like theoretically, right, if this game ever got made, it would be on the Switch too. But I feel like a GameCube controller compatible thing would be kind of obvious, especially for the nature of this game, you feel me? So, those are my thoughts on the Double Dash 2 game. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah, man, wrapping up, I totally didn't pirate this game and play it again for this video. But when I tell you that this game genuinely just works, I mean it. And it's such a shame that Nintendo never brought back this series, or at least this mechanic, you know? It's a shame because like I said at the beginning, this game is like 22 years old, and I wish I had an easier, more legal way to play this game, you feel me? Which got me thinking about a sequel, hence the video. Hopefully Mr. Miyamoto somehow sees this video and considers it, I don't know. In the meantime, I'll be here trying to manifest this game. I already have an idea on how the conversation could go. But hey Miyamoto, can we get Double Dash 2 and not whatever the fuck Mario Kart World is?
Shit, Negro. That's all you had to say.
Yeah, I'm always saying that I'm up too late. Don't speak in the room when I'm on my own. Tell me, all my choices untouched by fate. Well, I reach a limb, I can call my own.